Welcome to Soundprints. This is a program brought to you each week by the Kentucky Council of the Blind, and we're so glad you're with us this week. This is Carla Ruschival, and I'm your host for this week's program. We're going to begin with an interview that was provided to us by Dave Trevino. His interview is with an organization that has been an exhibitor at the American Council of the Blind annual conference and convention for a number of years, and we think you'll enjoy hearing about this opportunity for people who are blind or visually impaired.
With the unemployment rate for the blind and visually impaired consistently around 70%, it's no wonder that blind job seekers, rehabilitation professionals, and educators are constantly searching for vocations that offer a good chance for long-term gainful employment. An organization in Buffalo, New York, has developed a program that taps an industry that will be around as long as people want to travel and be entertained.
What we do is we teach the basic computer skills in terms of some proprietary kinds of software that you find in the hotel industry. We use the hotel industry as the guide for the hospitality program because it's a quantifiable program. When you work in hotels, there are certain things that are done, and what they do is they're sort of pulling from the idea of this is what it means to be in the hospitality industry. That's just a very good example. It's something that offers a broad base of opportunity for folks regardless of situations, abilities, whatever they may be.
Meet Patrick Keyes, admissions coordinator for the National Statler Center for Careers in Hospitality Service. According to Keyes, while the Statler Center's programs are geared primarily to job seekers with visual disabilities, the focus is on ability to serve in an inviting industry with a wide variety of job opportunities.
It's really geared towards getting people to a point where they feel comfortable. What we do with the interview and application process really is where we begin the placement process, which is probably the greatest aspect of the program. Out of just about 500 graduates that we've had since 1999, 82% of our graduates have been placed in positions in this industry.
The Statler Center has been around for some time. Keyes offers a brief history of the program.
The Statler Center was founded in 1999 as part of the Olmsted Center for Sight, which is the newer name of the 108-year-old now Blind Association in Buffalo and Western New York. The Statler Center was founded by a couple of folks who are on the fringes of the hospitality industry who had been working, one woman who is an O&M professional, another person who had been working a lot in technology consultation and what have you tied to the hospitality industry. And what they did was they came up with this program through Johnson & Wales University to develop a program that teaches hospitality training, but it is geared towards blind, visually impaired, and then also some physically handicapped folks. The idea being that we can emphasize ability in these fields and come up with new ways to get people trained in these fields in the broad sense of the word hospitality. In the last 4 years, we've added a second curriculum that focuses on contact center and call center work. We worked with a fairly large technology company called Avaya that does a lot of phone systems for various kinds of call centers and large input and output centers to develop technology training based on their equipment and also using a lot of the concepts of the hospitality program. So what we do is we have two separate programs that we run 3 times each year. The first one, the hospitality program, is a 10-and-a-half-week program. We do a lot of training with basic computer skills. We teach everybody the Microsoft Office suite. We assess people's use and needs for alternative technology, adaptive technology. For example, we use JAWS as one of our primary tools, but if people use other magnifiers or whatever it may be, we adapt to that. Some of the physically handicapped folks that are maybe missing limbs, fingers, etc., we work through that also in terms of having talk-to-text adaptation, things like that. We're doing a lot more right now, for example, with iPads and things like that, because there's a lot of basic adaptability in that technology.
In addition to Microsoft Office Suite training, there are computer programs that are unique to the hospitality industry. Keyes elaborates.
There's training on what is called the property management system, Opera being a fairly prevalent one across the North American continent. It's basically a glorified database. If you don't use Opera in a hotel, they're going to use something very similar. So the training that we provide is really very adaptive to just about anything else that you would find in the industry across the United States and Canada and so forth.
While property management is important, The hospitality industry is a people business.
We also do a lot in terms of dealing with people. There's a lot having to do with how to interact with customers and guests and what have you, how to work with conflict, how to deal with conflict. We do a lot of basic business math training for people that may do jobs ending up, say, at a front office or in a front desk in a hotel, very basic things, just as refreshers. We do a lot in terms of business writing in English, which is really geared towards getting people to develop resumes, cover letters, thank you letters, etc., that kind of correspondence. Just sort of freshening folks up and getting them to be at the most recent abilities and using the most recent technologies.
Classes are one thing. Experience is quite another. The Statler Center supplies both in its training.
What really kind of sets us apart is that 3 weeks out of the 10.5-week hospitality program is devoted to externships, where all of our students go out into the community and are placed in hotels or at tourist attractions or at our Convention and Visitors Bureau using the skills and techniques that we're teaching in the classroom to actually be hands-on learning. For example, if someone does an externship at a hotel, they're going to see as many as 10 to 12 different kinds of positions and really work with people in those areas of the operation to get an idea of what they want to or don't want to do if they were to graduate from the program and move into that field. The same thing applies with the attractions and what have you, where people learn everything from front desk to sales and marketing to event management to the back of house things, the phone operations, even going into laundry and kitchen and those kinds of things. So there's really a broad base of opportunity, especially in the hotel industry, but also with the different attractions. So we work on putting people into multiple opportunities and getting them whatever it is that they can for the experience.
And there's more.
After that, we do a lot of work in terms of what we call Job Seeking Fridays, where every Friday in the program we have people coming in from all these different fields that give presentations to the students about their particular experience in the industry and how Statler's training can help them to do things along the same lines. That's actually how my involvement started with the program 13 years ago when it started. I know the founders pretty well and have been in the industry in a lot of different ways and have always sort of related my experiences and have actually worked with Statler grads who have graduated and gone on to work at hotels that I've worked at and in other properties that I've been involved in. So there's a lot of interaction in terms of how the staff works with the students, how the instructors that we bring in from the outside work with the students. One of the things that you should know is that the maximum size for a class is 15 people because we want to make sure that we have a very solid one-to-one interaction between the students and the instructors, as well as making sure that we have the proper amount of technology and the space to be able to afford each person his or her own workspace that is set up to that person's specifics if they use whatever AT there may be, whether it's JAWS or something else, and do a lot of training to provide that kind of real one-on-one interaction.
But isn't the hospitality industry better suited for high partials? Keyes says definitely not.
I don't know what the actual breakdown is, but I know that the 3 Statler grads that I've worked with in the industry have all been completely blind. Okay. I don't know if it's because of the employers or not, but the one thing that also sets us apart from state agencies and counseling agencies and what have you is that once somebody is hired as a part-time or whatever it may be, then there's usually a 90-day period of additional assistance given by the agency. What Statler does is once you are part of the Statler Center, you are forever part of the Statler Center, and our placement people and placement counselors work with you until the day you die to come up with new and different opportunities as need be. Because we've worked with people now from 37 states, 3 countries outside of the U.S., we have placement opportunities and connections within the communities in virtually all these different states, as well as more. We keep hearing about more things all the time, and as we continue to build our network out, that allows for better opportunity for placement, and that's really the thing that we hang our hats on, is the idea that our mission is not complete until the graduate is employed. We've had people that have decided that they didn't want to do anymore what they had been doing right when they got out of the program. They can come back to us, whether it's 3 months or 10 years, it doesn't really matter. We are still here, they are still part of our family, and that will continue until they're no longer. So you can help
somebody try to find another job if they want.
Certainly, yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
A fascinating program in New York. That's great if you can shuffle off to Buffalo for 10 weeks, but the Statler Center has and apparently will continue to take at least one program a year on the road. Keyes came to Louisville not only to promote the program, but to see if there was sufficient interest in this area to consider doing a program here.
We have done the class now. As I said, we do it 3 times a year over the course of the year, and generally what we've been doing is that the first 2 sessions of the year are done at our campus in Buffalo, and then we have been taking the program on the road. There is the possibility that we could do the program in this region at some point. The first reason to come to Louisville was because it was cheaper to fly here than it is to fly to Cincinnati out of Buffalo. They said, well, we have Helena down there who is in the interview process for a couple of things. Why don't you meet with her, find out where she's at, and talk to the folks at the places where she's interviewing and just give them a little bit of understanding about the program. And then I started doing a little bit of research about the BVI population in the area. That was how I found Deborah, and just called, and that brought me to meet with you folks. We've thought about Western Kentucky, we've thought about Southwestern Ohio, because we're basically looking at a 3-state area here when you add in Indiana. We have done the program by request in the past in places like Orlando and Las Vegas because of the fact that there's such huge hospitality centers, you know. Yeah. There are populations of people that we have been able to do a lot for in those areas. The fall class 2012 was done in Albany, New York, because we had a demand from the folks in Albany for New York State in terms of working with one of the counseling agencies, as well as being able to reach into New England, where it was easier for them to come to Albany than it is to come to Buffalo. So we've done that, and within that class, as an example, they graduated on November 16th of 2012, and by December 10th, 6 of our 11 students, I should say, were employed. So in the course of 3 weeks after coming out of the program, we already had that many people with jobs. And one of the guys, actually, here's an interesting story, a fellow that moved up from Louisiana to Albany to join the program because he had heard about some opportunities there. Mitch McBrayer, his name is. After graduation, was offered an opportunity in Wisconsin. Picked up and moved to Wisconsin. Since then, he has been promoted, I believe, twice in his new position that he has in Wisconsin. So, again, that was a matter of us maintaining contact and interaction with him, as we do with all the students, about what is it that you're getting out of the program, what is it that you would like to do with this training now that you're learning what it is all about, and working on those aspects, working on those elements, finding the leads that match what it is he's looking for, and offering the opportunity that he was able to take because he had some experience in the past, and as he became completely blind and was trying to figure out what he was going to do, we were able to convince him that his eyesight was not what was making his job work in the past. It was his abilities, his ability to understand people, work with people, etc. And he has run with that to the point where he is now back working in mid-management at a program in Wisconsin.
But quickly landing a job is more the exception than the rule. For most job seekers, graduation from the program is only the beginning. Now, it's finding the job.
Jobs don't necessarily come to you. It doesn't matter if you're sighted or not. Jobs don't come to you. I was out of work for a while last year, and I have been in a couple of cases in the last 22 years that I've been in the industry.
People fear blindness almost worse than death itself. And many prospective employers just can't imagine that anyone can do anything without sight, which makes looking for a job when you happen to be blind a pretty tough proposition.
You have to find the opportunities, but then you sell yourself, and as you mentioned, it isn't an easy thing to do for someone who's blind. I noticed it today in meeting with the lady at the Louisville CVB. I explained to her the case of the graduate that I was there to sort of represent, and I mentioned what her skills were that she brought. And she just, well, I have some concerns about this and some concerns about that. And it's just, Susan, with all due respect, the point is to treat Helena as you would any other applicant and to judge her based on what you get from her in the interview and to see what it is that she's capable of doing, because she has experience in just about every element of your operation that you're asking for her to do. Don't just say, well, because she can't see, she's not going to be able to do this, this, and this, when that is not at all the case, because we would set up to make sure that she had her JAWS set up in the office. That's something that we take care of. We would make sure that she has a scanner for any other text that she would need. We would do the O&M with her there, make sure that she was prepared to be able to handle things.
Sounds like a dream.
It's geared towards creating success for our students. That's really what the focus is. Getting people into the class is the first step, but we are not done until we know that the graduate is satisfied with where they have landed.
Of course, there's no free lunch. This program costs somebody something. Where does the money come from? How does a person get into the program? Keys shows us the way.
We do a lot in terms of working for the program itself. When you look at what it costs to do and everything, there is a tuition involved. It's a $4,200 program, but that amount is covered by the state counselors. If it's not, we're funded primarily by the Statler Foundation. Ellsworth Statler was the hotelier that built the Statler and Statler Hilton chain. We're funded by the Conrad Hilton Foundation. We're funded by the Reader's Digest Foundation. So really it costs over $16,000 per student to do the training. All the rest of it is covered by grants. The $4,200 is what we ask for from the counselors. And when the counselors are not able to come up with that support, we can often go back to our funders and say, we have here a candidate who we feel would really benefit from the program. We want to be able to figure out a way to make this person be part of the class. And more often than not, we've been able to find the additional support to cover the rest of that.
A look at the National Statler Center for Careers and Hospitality Service with Patrick Keyes. For more information, contact Patrick Keyes, that's Keyes, at area code 716-888-4526, or email pkeyes, all in lowercase, at uppercase S, lowercase tatler, uppercase C, lowercase enter.org. For Sound Prints, I'm Dave Trevino.
Thanks, Dave, for a great interview.